Welcome back to another episode of the Creative Finance Playbook podcast. We're your host, Jen.
I'm Joe.
And we have Ryan Witherall back with us today. He is going to be diving into behind the scenes real estate investing and the importance of one of the maybe not so fun topics to talk about, but so important, bookkeeping. Because if you don't have a book that can tell your story of what's happening, you probably have a mess.
Well, and that's true too, because this was the first thing that we should have sourced out. So I'm thrilled to have you here today, Ryan. And we all don't know Ryan, rockstar real estate investor. He and his wife, Abby, are out of Pennsylvania. You guys are doing deals, right? You're buying some houses with Creative Finance. You're part of our coaching community, which is awesome. And then all of a sudden, like I'm watching you and you're like, this is like, you're gravitating towards it. So let's talk about quickly, like, what do you guys do in real estate with yourself and Abby?
Sure. Yeah, we got started with real estate about 3 years ago when we moved from the house we were living in to a new house and decided to just keep the old one as a rental. Since then, we bought a couple more rentals and then kind of ran out of money, and that's when we discovered Creative Finance and joined the coaching group. And that's just been super transformative. Since then, we've been able to do a bunch more deals without having to put a ton of our own money into them, which has been huge. And also been able to do some like fix and flip type things and wholesale deals. So it's been an awesome journey. And I'd say like Abby and I were pretty entrepreneurial. Like she's got a wood flower arrangement business that she runs, and of course we got the real estate business. So we like doing a lot of those sorts of like running our own business type of things, which I think is kind of what got me into what we're talking about today a bit more. That's kind of what got me started on the bookkeeping side of things.
Well, you guys have bought some really nice houses with Creative Finance. Like shout out you two, because that's amazing. You did really well with rent to own in those properties too.
Yeah.
You found some opportunities to fix and flip. Right now you've got one going on, and you also have wholesale. So that's really neat. But it doesn't matter what one of those deals you're doing. The one thing that stays consistent, whether it's the flower business or a real estate business or whatever, is having good, accurate bookkeeping. Okay. I know when we first got started, tax season was a disaster in our house because our whole dining room table, we had a big one, and was full of papers, like receipts, and like trying to keep it all organized. And
well, nobody teaches you how to do it. And so either you can make it really complicated and wait till the very last minute. You could try to do it yourself and end up in tears, or you can hire somebody that really enjoys it, has made the process simplified, and can really help you along the way, because there are people out there like Ryan that are going to be able to like less tears, less stress, because some of us are just not cut out for that. Okay.
Well, and like you said earlier in the beginning of this, like if you have to show somebody your bookkeeping and your records and you have to tell a story, that's bad. Like it should do all the talking for it because of accurate bookkeeping. So what got you into this part of bookkeeping? Like what made you think I need to do this?
Yeah, so I kind of just always was doing the bookkeeping for our businesses, tracking ever since we got the first rental, keeping track of all the transactions for that, kind of not being super organized about it myself. But like even before that, like ever since I got my first job, I was always like putting together Excel spreadsheets, to track income and stuff like that. So I was kind of familiar with that, and definitely have always been a numbers guy, and I enjoy. Somehow it's not normal. Maybe not most people enjoy numbers the way I do, but so it kind of always have been good with tracking finances. And then as we did more with the real estate business, growing that, I more recently decided to do kind of a deep dive into accounting fundamentals. So your debits, credits, assets, liabilities, equity, all of that, and found that I really enjoyed that whole side of things. So that's when I started thinking, as a small business owner, as a real estate investor, I understand, the struggle of you're getting pulled in so many different directions. You don't have time maybe to do your own books, especially if you haven't been trained to do it. It's not like it's a super complicated thing, but it's just another thing on top of everything else to try to keep on top of and manage. And once you start to get behind, then it kind of turns into this snowball where it gets worse and worse the longer you wait. And then tax time runs around, and it leads to a huge amount of stress at that point. So that was where I was thinking, I can help other business owners by offering this as a service. It's something I enjoy doing. It's something that I'm good at. Maybe it's something I can help other people out with too.
That's awesome. So did you have to learn, like get certified for this, or was there some education that you had to do that really helped you?
Yeah, like I was saying, I did a lot of work learning kind of the accounting fundamentals. And then the other thing is I only work with QuickBooks for bookkeeping. So I am a QuickBooks certified pro advisor. So I went and got that certification, did the QuickBooks training. That was it. Bookkeeping ultimately is not all that complicated. It's just, it takes some time, and it's something that if you're a small business owner, you might, it might be a lot more effective for you to be able to free yourself up to focus on, the revenue producing activities rather than trying to do all the kind of back end administrative stuff. It's one of the easiest things to offload to somebody else, I think.
Yeah, you're hitting it on the head, because this is how crazy I was, Ryan. So painting the picture here, I think it was 2018, 2019. So we had 5 rentals. We turned them into rent to own. We now know how to buy on Creative. So we're adding a door like every year. So I pay a babysitter. I drop the kids off, and I'm like, I'll go to Starbucks, at least get a coffee, and I'm going to like teach myself QuickBooks. I did not learn anything except for, whatever coffee I enjoyed. I got frustrated. I think I uploaded like 2 things, and I like ended up being in tears. And I was so mad because here I spent money on a sitter, money on the QuickBooks, and tears at the end of the day. And it was just something that like my brain did not compute numbers, and I did not have any like YouTube video walking me through anything. So I remember going home to Joe and being like, I just can't do this. And we finally just like had to look around and realize like, wow, like you could find someone else. So I'm sharing that story because if you're in my seat, even though Ryan's saying it's easy and it's not complicated, for people like him, that's how he works and thinks. And we all have the quadrants, right? Of like our strengths, delegate what you're weak at or you don't enjoy doing. And that was me. So I love that there are people like you, Ryan, that can help people like me.
Well, and I was going to say, I love how casual he was like, oh, it's not that easy. Because I think back when, and you did that. And I was like, well, if she's not figuring it out, yeah, nope. Like I'd rather talk to a seller on the phone and let me make a deal. But
I'll go live on Facebook, and I'll like make all these social media posts, and like I'll definitely call the rent to own buyers. Like I was finding my footing and my place in our business as well. So I have to share that picture, because for every person like me, like there are people like you, and thank goodness.
yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, but it's something that really is so crucial to small business in a lot of different ways. Like, obviously, you have to keep good books because tax time rolls around. You got to have your profit and loss statement for your CPA. So it's a necessary thing for any small business to have, but it's helpful in so many other ways as well. Being able to look at your numbers, know where you are as a business owner, as a real estate investor. Especially as a real estate investor, I think what was kind of game changing for me was realizing, like, looking at each property individually, seeing where the good performers were and where the poor performers were. Because sometimes if you have some really good performing properties, which with these creative deals, you can have some phenomenal properties, but then you might have some also that they penciled out well, but then they ended up not kind of working out exactly as you expected. But if you're just looking at how much money do you have in the bank at the end of the month, rather than who's bringing in the money and who's maybe taking money and cash flow negative, that's a really important benefit to being able to look at your profit and loss per property.
That's so huge.
Yeah, well, and it's great because what you need to do is, like my old boss used to say, like, you need to know your numbers, and you really have to understand them to make an educated decision. So keeping track of everything the correct way, which is super crucial.
Mm-hmm.
B, like knowing what your numbers are, who's performing or not. But then also, like when it comes to time to doing like your taxes, there's like, that's the one thing you never want to mess up on or mess around with, right?
Pay your taxes.
And like, you'd be surprised how many people that could be an issue for. But if you have good, clear bookkeeping and it keeps track of it, this was one of the things I got to say that turned Joe and Jenn into, like, I can't say amateur investors, but like a hobby investor to like, we're going more professional grade now.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've got a bookkeeper, like keeping track of everything that we're spending, every little thing that gets swiped on that company card or whatever that is. Like we keep track of it. And now
and I feel like there's little things, maybe we could talk about that. Like So yes, you need a bookkeeper, but what can you do to help said bookkeeper, right? Like if somebody hasn't found you yet, but like what are some things that an average investor, maybe they have a property or two, or they're looking to get their first one and they're listening,
Mhm.
what are some really simple things that they could do to set themselves up for success, like while tracking, like if they have a rental property, what should they be doing? If they're fixing and flipping a property, like any little tips you can give for that?
Yeah, ultimately it kind of comes down to, do you have your transactions? I'd say the number one thing is probably keeping your personal separated from your business transactions. That's going to make it way easier for any bookkeeper to be able to just kind of bring up everything from your bank account or your credit card statements and just kind of know this is all business related. It just helps simplify everything. If you're as a real estate investor, there's kind of for your bookkeeping, there's a little bit more to it because you also have to track all the expenses related to a certain property and keep those tied to that property. I think one of the most helpful things is just staying on top of it. If you're doing your own books, regularly making sure before you forget, what that transaction, which property that one was for, which is one of the things about as a bookkeeper, what I do is every week, once a week, every client, I'm checking in, categorizing the transactions. If I have questions about a certain transaction, I'll get those questions out once a week, so it's still fresh in the business owner's mind. But I think, yeah, the biggest thing is definitely going to be keep your personal finances separated from your business finances, and that goes. I mean, at that point, it's not really that complicated as far as like if you got it all in your bank account and your credit card. Or maybe you have multiple bank accounts, multiple credit cards, but all those transactions can be brought in pretty easily to QuickBooks. And from there, it's just categorizing those.
You hear that?
I do. I've been taught and trained well.
And there's little things too, like I don't think about, but like if you purchase something on your Apple phone, but it's tied to a personal credit card, like that's where like the mess could start happening. So, just like, and
Right.
they, like, you don't think about it until all of a sudden you're like, oh shoot, like this is a business thing, but it's like tied to my personal credit card. Like, how do you mitigate that? You just got to nip it in the bud and fix it.
Right. Yeah. Well, if you keep your receipts too, then that helps with tracking. If there is some sort of mixture, that can all be dealt with. But keeping the receipts, keeping a good record of where all the money was spent, that'll help tremendously also. Especially if you keep it like in a Google Drive or somewhere that's easy to share, that helps a lot.
I actually created an email. Like I have receipts at, and then like anytime like I have a receipt, instead of trying to like keep the I still keep the paper, but like I always try to take a picture and then email it to that email account. So then I can just pull that up and get that. I feel like somebody shared that trick a while back and that's been super helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great tip.
Yeah. So if I'm a new investor and I haven't done a deal yet, or maybe I am an investor and I've already done a few deals, when do you think is like the best time to start bringing in somebody like yourself to start taking, well, maybe, okay, let me rephrase this. You're like Joe, who doesn't want to do that, right? Maybe some of the people listening say, oh, I love to do the bookkeeping. Well, great. Love you guys. But maybe somebody like me, who I'm a deal maker, but when it comes time, like I'll save the receipts, I'll do all that stuff. But like, do I want to be the one filing it? Do I want to be the ones doing all this stuff? Like, absolutely not. So for people like Joe, when's the best time to bring in somebody like Ryan to start helping out?
Probably, the sooner the better for sure. There's a little bit of a balance, I think, between, if you just buy your first property, then the expense of a bookkeeper might not be worth it at that point. On the other hand, the sooner you start, the easier it's going to be for you in the long run. So it's just something you kind of have to balance. Are you like, do you just have one property and you just want to keep your receipts for that and kind of have your CPA put everything together, or you have one property, but now you're gonna try to get 2 or 3 more pretty quickly. If you're gonna scale quickly like that, then you probably want to bring on a bookkeeper sooner than later.
Yeah, I think we were close to almost 10 properties by the time we brought on a bookkeeper.
Oh, wow.
Well, I think it was around that 6 mark because it was 6, 7. Yeah. Because that was when like I was still just trying to figure out. And I remember I finally was just like, how do I, and then it was the lady who works with the CPA who ended up being my bookkeeper. And I would every month sit there and try to remember, this transaction was this. And so I love that you said weekly, because when you start having a lot of moving parts, it's easy to forget. Like when in the moment, you're like, oh, I'll keep up with this. But like you said, as an entrepreneur, you're wearing a lot of hats. So trying to remember things is just silly at that point. So a weekly check-in with you sounds like gold.
Yeah. You can just kind of, if you hire a good bookkeeper, you just let them kind of take care of it, and they'll reach out to you. As long as everything's set up well, and with, modern technology, it's easy to hook QuickBooks up to your bank feed, to your credit cards. And so everything gets brought in that way. You might still have to send some loan statements, but, like I said, weekly, I'm categorizing the transactions while everything's still fresh in your mind. And then the other things that I do as a bookkeeper are, at the end of each month, I reconcile the accounts to make sure that what's in QuickBooks matches what you've got in your bank account statement and in your credit cards. And then the other piece to it is sending the financial statements once a month. Again, I try to do it in the first 5 days. Sometimes it might be a little bit longer than that, like a maximum of 10 days, but usually like within the first 5 days of the next month, you've got your financials from the previous month. All the transactions have been categorized. And you know that all your accounts have been reconciled, so everything's accurate. And then you have that picture of what the last month looked like to go on for the next month.
Well, the important thing is they say that success is a good night's sleep. And there's probably nothing more exhausting than not being current on your bookkeeping, thinking that you're going to put it all into one big pile at the end of the year, right? And it starts to get overwhelming, and there's going to be a lot of errors. There's going to be some mistakes. This is not the 1980s anymore, where you walk into your accountant's office with 2 big garbage bags full of receipts, toss them on their desk, and like, this is what I pay you for. Because I've heard of people doing that. And obviously now technology's gotten way better, way cleaner. And us as humans, I think, have developed, and we're a little smarter now than it used to be way back in the day, right? So what I'm talking about is like having somebody like that on your side. So if you're listening here, I will tell you, this was the first thing in our business that we delegated, was bookkeeping, the very first thing. Since then, we've grown a team. We've got many different employees now, but that was the first thing that we did. And I hope Jen kicks me in the butt later on, because we should have did it years before we did. It would have made tax season. It would have made.
But there's this like weird thing. I don't know if you're I don't know if it's type A or what, but like you think you can do it all, and like you can do a lot. Like you said, it's probably not difficult, but if it's just not in your wheelhouse and you've got so much other going on, like it's okay to delegate and hire things out. Like you said, if you can afford it, like it's time. If you feel like, oh man, like maybe I should have, like, yeah, it's definitely time. And for some reason, I don't know if it's because like nobody talks about it in schools. It's just really like being an entrepreneur is just a different lifestyle of like, you have to learn to get really great at delegating and being okay with like, I can't do it all. I need a team of people around me that I can trust, and together we're going to grow. And letting go of some of your money to get back some of your time to then do more income producing tasks, winning all around.
Yeah, spot on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and I was surprised how, fairly inexpensive it is for everything that you have to do to be a bookkeeper, because there's a lot of things like, and missing some receipts, missing some of these things going to end up costing you quite a bit in your taxes, things like that. So really just having it well organized, to me, like if you haven't done a deal yet, you're probably not there yet. You got a couple of properties, you should be definitely starting to think of doing this, because it's going to start saving you so much more time. And what is our job as an entrepreneur is to stick to income producing tasks, right? Don't go outrageous with expenses, but stick to the things that are making the money. And for me, and Jen, that's like finding a deal. That's like finding a rent to own person. Like that's what gets our business paid, right? And so that's what I want to focus all of my time on. And if I could bring somebody in to just, make sure that this is clean as a whistle, and every T is crossed and every die is dotted, and it's, not that expensive.
No-brainer at that point.
It's a no-brainer. So I am sorry, honey. I'm
publicly, it should be all these years
saying this on air with whoever listens to this. We should have done this sooner. But we did it back 2018?
I think it was like 2018. I could find it because I literally have a couple videos and photos of just like when you have that many properties and that much going on, money coming in, money going out, receipts, I mean, your actual physical table, it was just loaded with stuff.
And then you add in wholesale deals, you add in fix and flips, you add in all of the deals that we're doing.
And everything gets taxed differently. So you have to keep it organized for your CPA to do their job, is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, for sure.
Bam. Well, this is a game changer right here. So what's the name of your business now?
Susquehanna Bookkeeping.
Susquehanna Bookkeeping. Why'd you name it that?
Because we live like right next to the Susquehanna River.
Cool.
In Pennsylvania.
I knew there was some special meaning behind it. So
Yep.
Susquehanna Bookkeeping. If somebody wanted to talk to you more about this, or they want to follow up more about it, or to check you guys out because you're awesome real estate investors, like where is the best spot to do that?
You can find us on Facebook. You can look up my page for bookkeeping, Susquehanna Bookkeeping. It's on Facebook, and reach out to me through that. Send me a message, or just connect with me directly on Facebook, Ryan Witherell. I'll give out, my phone number if anybody wants to text me or call me about it. 814-549-9336. I'd love to hear from anybody who's looking for bookkeeping services. Answer any questions. Even if you just need help with your QuickBooks, feel free to reach out.
Oh,
I love that.
You guys seriously are the best. Like, they're homeschooling family, hardworking, down to earth, but like always giving back, always, showing up on social. So you definitely go give them a follow on Facebook. He is always sharing tips with the bookkeeping page. And I am just so excited for you guys. Like the fact that you turn something that it's a bit of a passion project, but now it's another business, right? That I love that entrepreneurial spirit, like we talked about. You just never know like what unfolds as you allow yourself to grow and become the best version of yourself. And now you can help others with their books.
That's awesome. And you could do it virtually, right? So if you're in Pennsylvania, it's that Susquehanna River, and I'm in Florida, or somebody else is listening to this and they're in a different state, you could help them in all 50 states?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good. So, well, that's awesome. And then you guys are rock star real estate investors, so you're a huge part of the community. Everybody in there loves you guys. I'm excited to have you do the class in our coaching group. About it. I mentioned that the other day, and everybody's like hearting the comment. I'm like, yeah, okay. Well, we got a whole bunch of people in class who'd also like to see it, that deep dive too. So I'm looking forward to, we're going to be doing that next week. So bravo, absolutely rocking it, and I love it. So thank you so much for coming on today. This is super helpful.
Any other words of wisdom you want to leave? Yeah, leave us with a couple of words of wisdom for anyone who is just thinking of reaching out.
Yeah, I'd say keeping your books accurate is important for tax time, reduce stress, but also just so you can put yourself with your numbers on the map, see where you're at, and see where you're trying to get to. So that's what I love that.
Yeah, and you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah,
you can bring in help and build your village around you. Because as an entrepreneur, we have to build our village, right?
Stop trying to do it alone.
Yeah, and that's really huge. So. Well, thank you for coming on today and sharing your words of wisdom. And you guys are rock stars. Absolutely love it.
If you're listening, guys, reach out to Ryan. And if you love what you hear, make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. And if you're listening, leave us a review down below. Let us know, what else are you looking for in your real estate investing business. Until next time, take care, everybody.
See you guys.